Recording in progress, and that means this is That Shooting Show. My name is Steve Anderson. I'm about 80% of your humble host, but I'm less humble and more hosty. And I am so pleased to be talking to my South African friends about the 7th South African tour that is coming up. I will be bringing Walthers. I will be bringing AMG-lab.com commanders and timers. I'll be bringing Hunter's HD Gold because these things are the
finest.
Honest.
Nailed it.
Gaz, have you ever handled a Walther Steel frame match?
No, I haven't.
So it's everything you like about your Shadow 2. You're not your Shadow. It's everything you like about your Glock, but with a little bit of heft to it. And you like a ladder gun, don't you?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll bring the polymer gun as well. So I'll bring the polymer gun as well, and I'll bring the steel frame that has a magwell. So you'll have a magwell and an as well. Okay.
Sounds good.
I want to thank all of you for everything you've done to bring me back again. I know that Steve fatigue is a thing, and the entire country may be suffering from it, but I have new stuff. I have a new fundamentals exercise to do. We have got new stuff. And since I've been competing again, my mental management game is absolutely on fire. If you thought it was good before, imagine Steve Anderson, the competitor, using mental management and building self-image, right? Coming back from retirement to shoot matches, it's scary. Gaz, could you imagine taking 10 years off and then showing up to a match?
Not at the moment, no.
Scary.
Not going straight into a match, yeah.
Right? Especially like, imagine taking 10 years off and then training for 4 days before your first match. You need mental management in that environment, right?
Yep.
And I don't mind telling people I was scared to death. And it's okay to be scared to death. But what you've got to do is turn anxiety into strategy. It's just like the first time I showed up and the guy said purpose, and Shanae said he's going to ask you purpose of visit. And I said, what do I say? She goes, lie to him. I said, I don't lie. Tell him it's business and pleasure. And the guy didn't care. Like I worried for weeks about a thing that a guy didn't even care about, right? He goes, business and pleasure. And I said, yes, that's it. That's the right answer, business and pleasure, right? And speaking of business and pleasure, Shanae, are you ready to give us the schedule?
Indeedy.
All right.
So you guys are landing, I think, on the 30th?
I think
29th?
Yeah.
29th. So we've got the day off to rest and recuperate. And then on our public holiday on the 1st of May, we've got Steel and Transitions class, which we thought would be interesting to call your shots on paper and also learn to do that on steel and also have awesome transitions.
Yes, can we talk about that? Can we talk about that for just a second?
Go for it.
Okay. So if you are waiting for the ding on steel, if you're watching steel fall, Gaz, how much time are they losing listening for a ding or watching it fall?
Probably at least 0.3 to half a second, at least.
At least.
Yeah.
And
if you're watching it fall, you're wasting a second for sure.
At least. And Gaz, do you know what a dirt makeup is?
Yep.
That's
where the backstop tells you missed.
Yes, that's great. And so the best dirt makeup when the backstop tells you you've missed, and if you're firing stolen Air Force tracers, it'd be more like a fire makeup, right? The best you're ever going to do is a 90. That's the best you're going to do. And it can be a 1-2 or a 1-3. And then if you go to war on it, thinking it's a sight problem and start honking the trigger, honk, 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 you're going to be doing a standing reload very shortly. And all of this can be prevented by learning to call your shots. And learning to call your shots will automatically speed up your transitions because you can leave the old target with authority and Keita's connecting. She's doing it. God bless her. She's coming in. Her Majesty the Queen is arriving. But there's nothing faster than calling your shots. And those of you that are listening, if you're having to wait for a ding or watch it fall, or even on paper, if you're leaving paper and you're worried about that target, you are not leaving with authority. And speaking of authority, I'd like to welcome Her Majesty the Queen, Kita Busse. Hello, Kita. She's still, but that was such a great intro. Like, I set that up so beautifully.
Yes.
Right? Now I have to do a song about connecting to audio. Connecting to audio, connect. Kita, are you there? She's still connecting. Okay, so back to transitions. So I will transition back to transitions. The other thing that happens is people worry about starting their transition early, so they do something kind of crazy. They start the transition, or as you would say, transition, with the bullet still in the barrel. You can't start a transition with the bullet still in the barrel. That's no good, right? Now, Gaz, what happens when the bullet leaves the barrel? What does the gun do when the bullet leaves the barrel?
Well, your sights lift, they print where the bullet's going at the moment of ignition.
Right. And when you can see that, brother, that is all you need to know. Kita Busse, are you with us?
I'm here. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my camera.
Do we need Minnie Canyon to give you an electronics lesson? Do we need a hair mom to walk her through it? We need a teenager to walk grandma through it. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you're not feeling well. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out my controls here.
Okay. So I will keep talking, and then we'll know when we see you.
All right.
All right. So, all right, that covers what was steel transitions and swingers, Shanae?
Yes. No, not swingers, just steel and transitions.
Oh, no swingers in that one.
Yep.
You get so mad when I do stuff in the class that's not in the class. You're like Sharon Osbourne, like, Ozzy, this is not a shot calling class. Ozzy, this is not, I'm Sharon. Shanae.
I will have some, I'll put some swingers in the back and just have them ready.
Call it the upside down pineapple class. We'll see who shows up, right?
I keep telling people, actually, every class is all the class. Everything you need is in every class. But we focus a little bit more on specific things with specific purpose and have a plan. I try to keep you with a plan.
Sure. And people might have
Specific needs.
Yeah, like are you guys familiar with the movie The Three Amigos and El Guapo? So in the movie, the three amigos went up against this evil guy named El Guapo, right? And they're actors, but nobody knows they're actors because they get lucky in all their gunfights. And so everybody thinks that they're these massive gunfighters. And then one of the lines in the movie is everybody has their own personal El Guapo. Ours is the real El Guapo, but everybody has a gremlin or an Achilles heel or something that is holding them back, right? This one can't shoot on the move. This one, in America, it's always this one tanks the classifiers. This one has trouble with the major match. We can fix all of that. And the most powerful part about Kita and I joining forces is I can handle the stuff behind the gun and she can handle everything else. Gaz, what percentage of IPSC is moving without shooting?
Moving without shooting. Sorry, Steve, I don't quite understand what you mean.
Okay, so IPSC is some percentage of shooting the gun, and then spend time not shooting the gun. What is that ratio?
I think you spend more time not shooting the gun.
And that is where Kita Busse comes in. It is so much easier to reduce the amount of time when you're not shooting the gun, right? She can teach you to do GM things when the gun's not going off, and you can learn them much faster than you can learn GM things from me about the gun actually going off. Kita, this would be a wonderful time for you to say something if you can.
Well, I suppose I can talk. I just can't figure out how to turn on my camera.
Yeah, just talk to us. You're so much more mysterious this way. This makes you seem like like in the witness protection program because you're so important.
All right. Sorry, what was the question? I was fiddling with things.
The question is, you are the undisputed industry expert. You literally wrote the book on non-shooting time.
Yeah, it was interesting when I first came into the sport. There was no research on movement. Nobody was even using the word movement. There were no instructors saying I teach movement. It just wasn't a thing. The only thing that was taught was shooting on the move. And then once hit factor was explained to me, where it's points divided by time, I realized this was something missing in the sport. So I went to other sports to find what research was already proven, and then tested some theories on some high level shooters. So we figured out what worked, what didn't matter either way. And I literally wrote the book on it. And a lot of those people that I talked with about these things actually made some contributions to the book as well.
Yeah, when I finally read the thing, I was immediately blown away. So for people that may not understand our association, what happened is Kita and I met very briefly in 2017, and she was not really on my radar as an instructor. And then as I became divorced, she heard about my divorce and was worried about me as a human being, because she's also been through those kinds of things. And as she was helping me sort of rebuild my life as a human being, I got into her book again and was immediately just blown away by how smart she is. Like, people don't know how smart Kita Busse is. And so I'm on this mission to let her help you. Like, she's done all the experiments, she's analyzed all the data. You don't have to do any of that. All you have to do is what she tells you to do. Just like with me behind the gun, I've made all the mistakes. You don't need to suffer through that. And Kita, what is your normal, like, if you look at a before and after field course, what is your normal amount of seconds off that you get?
It depends on the level of shooter. So if it's a very experienced shooter, it's probably going to be around 2 to 3 seconds. If it's a newer shooter, it could be up to, I think the biggest I had was a full minute come off a stage.
Wow. So like one of the reasons I love working in IDPA is because if you can solve the ammunition management, you can get 10 seconds. And they're like, wow, I knew when the gun was empty. Wow, this is amazing. And Kita, do you want to talk about our joint class first or your private lessons first?
Well, there's something else I would like to add before we get into that.
Of course.
So when I figured out, what is the closest we can get to the most efficient movement proven in other sports when we have a gun in our hands and we have a 180 to worry about, you have to understand that, yes, these are proven to be the best ways as far as we know now. There is room for growth and discovery, but also everybody's body is built a little bit different. So that's where it's really good to have eyes on, do something like a video review where I can actually see video, because especially if you had injuries or something like that, the movement I give to one person, I might not give to another person. So you can read the book and that gives you kind of a general idea what works for most people. But for example, if you're in a wheelchair, I'm going to give you something very different, or Nas, who has a artificial leg, is going to get something a little bit different.
Yeah. Will you teach me how to do the shuffle with crutches?
Yeah, I can, but it's going to be kind of tough to keep the gun safe without, well, you'd have to holster.
Well, and if I keep shuffling, I'm going to keep needing crutches anyway, because I very famously disagreed with you and I paid for
Yeah.
it. And
Well,
so,
we argue in a very healthy way. So we disagree with each other on things, but we still listen to each other's ideas. We just have our own perceptions, and sometimes you're right and sometimes I'm right. And sometimes it doesn't matter either way.
All right. So if you're finished with your introduction, would you like to discuss your private classes? And guys, the reason we're talking to her first is she may not be able to join us for the entire call. So we're going to give her the spotlight while she's available. So what can they expect in your private lessons?
In the private lessons, I'm doing 2-hour blocks. I'd like to have two people paired up that are at a similar skill level so they can push each other. Then while one is loading mags, the other one can be shooting. Because it's a lot of movement, it's very physical. So if you're shooting for that whole 2 hours and don't have a partner, you're gonna be beat. So it gives you a little time for your muscles to recover if you do have a partner. Of course, if you really want a one-on-one, that's possible too. But that's why I like to have two students at the same time.
Okay.
We'll be breaking for lunch around 12:30 or so. Take an hour break and then we'll do 2 more sessions in the afternoon. We'll have this for 2 days. So what happens when you show up is I will set something up and have you shoot it so I can kind of see where you're at and what you need the most. So I'm not going to have a set lesson plan for the private lessons. I'm going to look at you and figure out what you need the most and then give you whatever that is. And your partner might get something totally different. And a lot of times I find that we can do those 2 different things using the same setup.
Excellent. So no formal criteria. Everything is absolutely tailored for each individual shooter.
Very individualized. And then it really helps me to know if you've had any previous injuries, because then I'll need to tailor your movement to that so you don't cause further damage.
Okay. Now, let's say somebody had more money than time and they only had 2 hours to spend with you. Would it be good for them to do a video review with you before you get there so you already know what to do, or would you rather see it in person?
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Okay. So that is something that I would highly recommend, is if you're gonna book a private lesson with Kita, and her time is very limited. So if you would spend a little bit of extra money and do the video review, that will I would assume that would save 30 minutes, right, Kita?
Yeah, and we'll already have a rapport, however you say that. That French word.
What did you say?
Rapport. I'm probably saying it wrong.
And then
Yeah, it'll give me a chance to evaluate you previously and see how you're shooting your stages in a match. So it will cut down on some of the evaluation time.
and is your book currently available in South Africa, Kita?
I think they have it in Cape Town, but I'm not sure if they still have copies there. Was it Silver Springs, I think, that had it?
Okay. Shanae, can you use your powers and find that out real quick for us?
Yes, sir.
You use your Sharon Osbourne powers and see if that book is currently available and where it is. And then I would like to talk about our joint class a little bit.
Yeah.
So we were working with a couple of shooters, and it just so happened that the same people I was working with were the same people she was working with. And wasn't it Frenchie was the first one?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, he was the one doing the video with you, and I just happened to walk by.
Right.
And there was a medical question.
Right. And it was so funny. I was hanging out at Kita's place because we were working on some joint curriculum, and I had a video review to do. And I'm sitting there at her kitchen counter, and the guy's asking me questions, and Kita's kind of listening in the corner. She's like, "Oh, I know the answer to that. Oh, I can help with that." And I was like, "Sir, Vincent, right? Vincent Gourmet." I said, "Hey, would you like to talk to Kita Busse about this?" And he goes, "Yeah, how do I get a hold of her?" And I said, "Stand by." And there she was.
Well, it was specifically a medical question, and you said, "Well, sir, I'm not qualified to answer that." And I just popped in and said, "I am."
That's
He
almost
was-
like when you teach resistance training and they get a movement coach strapped to their back. I almost had the same thing. I had a movement coach strapped to my back. It was hilarious. So we did this joint class, and I think it's fair. I don't love the word experiment, trial run, perhaps.
Yeah.
We were expecting, so we'd never joined forces before. We'd had most of our arguments already, and we kind of agreed to stay in our lanes because that's when we're the best. She crosses over into my lane much more often than I cross into her lane. So I just honk at her real loud, and she gives me the finger and then eventually goes back in her lane. But when you spend a day with me and I beat simplicity into you with subconscious skill, self-image, singular focus, And then you go see her and she fills your, like she blinds you with science. I don't know if we have any, I don't know if you guys know enough music to be blinded by science. Nobody knows that one.
No.
No.
She blinded me with science. You got to look it up. It's a great song. It's from the 80s. But anyhow, and then we switch. And then her group comes to me and I said, remember all that fancy crap she told you to think about? I need you to do one of two things. Either show it to me subconsciously or forget about it. One of the two. And that's the biggest risk, Kita. Haven't you seen that coming out of your class? Isn't that the biggest risk?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, and you didn't see my day 2 yet. Well, we were kind of split up, so you never really saw it, but we did our day 1 together. And day 1, I kind of tell people, I just want you to focus on the footwork I'm giving you, the different types of arm pumping I'm giving you. I want you to try these new things. And we're not going to worry so much about the hits right now because you're doing something you've never done before. And then on day 2, we start reining in the hits, and that's when things start becoming subconscious. But what I saw working with you is it became subconscious so much more quickly. And that's where, like, we both knew it was going to be good, but we were both shocked how good it actually was, the difference in results. So we had a guy who we were teaching on a range where they still had the stages set up from a major match in Florida. So our guys got to shoot those stages again after a little bit of coaching. And one guy had a stage win and took off, like, I don't know, was it 11 seconds?
There was an 11-second reduction, yes.
Yeah, with better hits.
Yep, absolutely.
The first time they shot it after winning the stage in the match. Like, that's something we don't typically see when we're separate. But when we put our curriculums together, it was like magic.
And Kita, I'm now going to use our favorite expression, which is, oh, I just realized something.
Mm-hmm. We did that.
What I just realized is in the past, your students may have been trying not to think about technique, which is the same thing as thinking about technique. What I just realized is it becomes subconscious sooner when they think about something
else, because you replaced it.
Right. We replace the thought instead of trying to suppress the thought.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's called spacing and interleaving. During that space, you need a space in between the thing that you're practicing. You need to give it some time before it becomes more subconscious. If you keep doing it over and over and over again, then it's harder for it to become subconscious because it's staying in your short-term memory.
Oh, I see. Kind of like your Spanish.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
and that's why one of the reasons why I tell people to take a 2-week break during the off season. And then they come back and pick up their gun again. They're thinking, oh, this is going to be terrible. And then they're surprised. Oh, that's not as bad as I thought it was. I thought I was going to lose a lot more. And then they're surprised how much they maintained because that 2 weeks off forced those skills into long-term memory.
Can I talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
Okay. What's also happening there is self-image is allowing or disallowing access to subconscious skill. So yes, all that scientific stuff that you said is absolutely happening. But from a mental management perspective, if Gaz takes a month off and expects to stink it up, it's going to be pretty stinky. But if Gaz takes a month off and goes, oh, in my entire career, I can't do the thing. I can do Sasha's, no problem. So I'll just be Sasha instead. Oh, in my entire career, I've shot the gun for 80 months. I've now been off 1 month and I still have 79 months of bloody training. Therefore, I expect 95% of my skill. Oh, that went weird. That went like Australian. Blimey. I got to work on that before I get there. So yeah, we had 2 A-class pistol guys carry a production optics. They beat everybody except 2 PCC shooters. So the A-class production optics, they went their first match after this training. They beat all the open guns. They beat all the standard guns. They beat in the overall. And of course, they went 1-2. And Keita, weren't they off by like 0.5%, maybe 1%?
Yeah, I think they were less than 1% away from each other.
Yeah.
They had the exact same number of hits,
Oh, I
which
remember
was
that.
super weird.
I remember 135 alphas and 25 Charlies almost to the digit.
Exactly to the digit.
And the most interesting thing was our guy that was 100% mental won, and the guy that was 99% or 95% mental finished it 99%. And the weirdest part was the guy that we were worried about. Remember how worried we were about Jeff?
Yep. Yep.
He was the guy that pulled it together.
He did. Yeah.
It was really remarkable. So great. Guys, we could talk about this class. Do you guys want to hear more about this joint class, or is this just too much?
I'm
So-
enjoying what I'm hearing. So
You're enjoying it.
Oh, good. So yeah, it really is astonishing. And because they had access to both of us, like, you know, for morning and the break and the evening, we hammered into them over and over and over again. When you are training, you must think about technique. When you are competing, you must think about something else. You must. And so they got to see it over and over and over again. When the Gavinator, his name was Gavin, when he had a bad run, I can go talk to him and say, what were you thinking about? He goes, well, it's pushing speed. I was trying to catch Jeff. And I'm like, how'd that work out for you? It didn't work out very well. You ready to try something different? And so the cool thing is, if you've got a dumb idea that you want to try, you can do it in front of us. And I'll say, how'd that work out for you? Are you ready to try something different? You know, what really is special about Keita is she has done the research for you. She is not going to ask you to do something that she's not 95% sure is going to work for 95% of people, right? It's almost like Ibrahim. Shanae, you were there. Stock
Yep.
Glock 19, baseball gloves, and the group was this big. Remember that?
Yep.
So he can do whatever he wants, right? He can do whatever he wants. He tried it my way and it was awful. And I was like, okay, I need all of you guys to get stock Glock 19s and baseball gloves. But the point, there are outliers, there are exceptions, but they are very rare. And if you can do what he did, then you can do whatever you want. If you think you can consciously control your speed and speed up and slow down and never make a mistake, knock yourself right out. You know, but if you can't, then let's try it our way, because we have a combined. Keita, what do you think is our combined years of experience? I made G when I was 30, so I've got 22 years of being a grandmaster. How much time do you have devoted to your craft?
I've been coaching for 15 years.
Is that combined 40, roughly? A combined 40 years of, like,
Roughly.
we have like 3 Hermans of experience, right? That's what we've got. We've got 3 children worth of experience. And Keita, roughly how many state, national, and world champions do you have in your stable?
I have about 10 national champions in 10 different countries and a couple of world champions.
Yeah, and so one thing people don't know about Keita is she does a lot of what do we call that? She does a lot of D&D training. Do not disclose. Is it do not disclose? Is that right? D&D? Yeah.
And
She can't disclose it because it's not disclosable. So let's just say she does some very private consultations that she's encouraged not to talk about. I can't even list. Gaz, how many times have you won a national title? He's forgotten.
More than 2.
And I
More
have
than 10.
Sasha, how many national titles do you have? God, I hope it's not 0. Please don't be 0.
More than 10?
More than how many?
10.
More than
10? Have you been
Plus.
10 national titles?
Probably.
This is my favorite thing. When my people win more things than they can keep track of, that is my favorite. That is a few of my favorite things.
Oh.
I have lost count of the state champions. And Kita, would you agree that PCC is my?
Sasha has something to say.
Oh, go ahead, Sasha.
And I also got a silver world shoot medal.
Yes. Nicely done. So Kita is very knowledgeable on the things that I know nothing about. So let's find out. Kita, would you say that PCC is my special area of expertise?
No.
Guess how many shooters I had in the IDPA PCC World Shoot Top 5? 2. Right? I had in the IDPA, so which I know nothing. Well, I know a lot about IDPA. I've shot exactly 18 rounds of IDPA in my entire career. And it was a 2-stage indoor match. It took 4 hours. I'm like, I am out of here. This is crazy. But I have 2 mental management clients in the PCC shoot top 5, and they were this close to each other. And so, yes, you can come see me with a PCC. Kita can show you how to hold it, and I'm going to work on the mental game. Gaz, you're doing some PCC now, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Yep.
So
And yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So let me tell you what I've learned so far. I think, and Kita, please tell me when I'm wrong, because you always do. Gaz, you should have seen her. The first time she coached me in Steel Challenge Dry Fire, she had to cover her face because of the facial she was making, right? She's like, it can't be that bad. So here I am. I'm in an orthopedic boot, touching the gun for the first time in 3 weeks. I can barely stand up straight. And she's like, ooh, oh. You know what would really impress me? She would say, if you would look at a smaller spot on the target, I'll quit making this face. And it worked out brilliantly. But Gas, here's what I think I know. And Kita, please, with a PCC, is it after stance and, holding the gun right? I think the most important thing is for the shooter to know their blast zone.
Yeah, sure.
Gaz?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I am still working on that, but the very good PCC shooters that I've been privileged to shoot with, like Leon, all have a good understanding of where that blast zone is. So on where they're blasting, I'm still getting 2 side pictures without sounding iffy about it.
Mm-hmm.
That really depends on the gun too.
Go ahead, Kita.
That really depends on the gun too. Some of them move a lot more than others.
Yeah, because what I see, like, for example, I had a young lady, what is her name, Kita? The Byram girl, Sophie. So Sophie was underutilizing her blast zone. And that's pretty common with female shooters, PCC shooters. What I see in male PCC shooters more commonly is they're overusing their blast zone. And they cannot figure out for the life of them why they're getting deltas at 18 yards. And I'm like, could we start with a second sight picture and see what happens? Like, could we start there? Right. But all I wanted to say is you can bring a PCC. If you're a PCC shooter, Kita can work technical magic in her private lessons. That would be a great place for a private lesson.
Yeah, if you shoot PCC and pistol, bring both.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, and I also start with stage planning for flow. That's something Steve doesn't really get into, because when it comes down to it, your stage plan usually doesn't matter a whole lot, but there are a few tips and tricks that I'll give you and give you a kind of standard to go by.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite principles of yours, Kita, is you turn periods of movement into transitions. Right?
Yeah.
I love that principle. And you should talk about energy leaks real quick.
Yeah, energy leaks are any sort of weakness in your structure where your energy is escaping from your body, being misdirected. So we want our energy to move in the direction we want to be moving. And if it's going the wrong direction, it's going to kind of drag you back.
So raise your hand if you're familiar with Fred Flintstone. I knew that was going to happen. I knew it. So when Fred Flintstone is trying to drive his car and his feet are going, he's not going anywhere. That's an energy leak. If you've seen people come into position and then they want to pick up both feet again, like they're already there and they want to pick up their feet and put them back down again, that's an energy leak. And you
A
don't
leak. I heard league.
Leak,
Oh,
leak.
gotcha. Okay.
When people are picking up a gun off the table, this is a really common one where they try and reach way far forward to pick up the gun instead of just moving their body to the table. That's an energy leak as well. So preventing energy leaks is also using the most powerful muscles in your body to make things easier instead of using the weakest muscles.
That's interesting. Like I need to avoid using my right foot for anything.
Well, you're not going to be shooting a stage for a little bit.
Oh, by the way, Kita Busse has saved my life. That's official. She ordered me to go to the ER when I was doing the typical man thing. I'll just walk it off. She goes, nope, 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 nope. You've tried that. You are going to the doctor right now. And they found a blood clot that could have dislodged and killed me at any moment, particularly if I decided to drive to Kentucky, which she would not let me do. So let's give Kita Busse a round of applause for saving Steve Anderson's life. Right?
Anyone would have done that.
And the downside is now you're stuck with me at an elevated level of enthusiasm. Like you did this, now you got to deal with it. You made your bed.
Right.
All right. So anything else about the 2-day class you want to say, Miss Busse?
Well, I said something I do that you don't touch on. What's something that you do that I don't touch on?
I show them that simplicity is smart. And so like if we look at Joey Sauerland, new shooter to national champion 2 years. Kita, are you aware of any shorter span from new shooter to national champion than 2 years? Oh,
Yep.
you had one that might have been.
Yep.
What was yours?
I think it was a year.
Okay. So that's my point. Okay. She got a new shooter national championship in a year. I got him there. And oh, that's the difference in the methodology, Kita. Right? That shows that smart reps are faster than dumb reps.
I had another one that was about 18 months.
Now you're just rubbing it in. But at any rate, if you like those numbers, right? Let's say you're not a new shooter. Let's say you're a B grade or an A grade shooter. You won a national championship. Kita, is it fair to say you can get them there faster than a new shooter?
Yeah.
Of course. Of course. Now,
Higher starting point.
now here's my perspective on that. Let's call those people bridesmaids. Okay. Let's say I'm top 3 nationally. I'm top 5, but I'm not quite there. That shooter, the closer they are, the more prone they are to over trying. Okay. Our mutual African Zimbabwe friend was there for 2 years. He was there. He was like, mate, if I could accents, I just got to give up. I could do a mafia accent so much better. But he's like, mate, I'm so close. I'm so close. And he's trying to get it at the match. And then he goes downhill. And then he thinks he's starting over. Man, I was right there. I was so close. And I said, yeah, you're over trying. And it feels, oh, Gaz, you know this, over trying feels so good when you're doing it, right? It's so exciting and exhilarating and so dumb, right? Because by definition, an ounce of over trying is engaging the conscious mind, which is denying you access to your training. So check it out. If you're trying really hard in training, and you should, okay? If you carry that effort, and Herman, I've seen you do it too. I was there. You got a reshoot that may or may not have been warranted, and I calmed you down and you knocked it out of the park. You remember that? Gaz remembers. Yeah. Yep. So you've got to leave over trying at the door. But Gaz, isn't it scary?
Oh, it's very scary. Yeah.
It's very scary. And
it requires you all of your own personal trust.
And so Keita wanted me to say what I do. What I do is I'll let you over try if you want to. Keita, remember Gavin was doing it because Jeff figured it out. Jeff got in the groove and Gavin started going after a time. He even said it out loud.
Yeah, yeah.
I said, Gavin, what are you getting ready to do? I got to shoot this thing in 12 seconds. Really? How many times has that worked? Right now, their training is a time and a place for doing it in 12 seconds. Gaz, how many classifiers did you hundo on that day we had together where you had to earn smokes by hundoing classifiers?
We did 3 or 4 that we hundoed.
Yeah, it was 3 or 4 for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely 3, and then the 4th one, I think that one was may have not been, but we took the hundo.
But it was for sure a G, for sure.
Oh yes, yeah.
So, and Shanae, I don't know if my schedule is going to allow for private lessons, but I don't know what the vibe is in South Africa about American classifiers, because they tell me they think it's dumb, and then I set one up and they're like, "Ooh, I can't wait to see how I do." Right? So I'm not really sure what that means. But if you're in this upper echelon of shooters, I can show you very easily how to take an American classifier, find out how good you are from an American standard, and then I will get you to at least the next level very easily. Shanae, do you remember when we did hijinks?
Yes.
And it was just hundo after hundo after hundo. And the best part was the slower they shot, the better they did, as long as they stayed moving.
I
As
think
long
it's
as you stay
really-
moving.
Yeah. Keita, how are you doing on time? Are you feeling okay?
I'm okay for a bit. I think it's really important to include some sort of standard in your training plan, no matter whether you're shooting USPSA, IPSC, or something else. You need something measurable. Otherwise, how do you know if you're reaching your goal if you need to reset your goals?
So I would modify that a little bit. Like, let's say if Gaz goes up and sets up a drill, just some random drill, sure, it's good for Gaz and sure he can improve it. But what if we knew how quickly Christian Seiler could do it, or Jay Beal, or Eric Graffel? Like, what if we knew that?
And I do.
That's my point, right? So let's use something with which we know. So like if we're shooting open, let's look, this is the best oh, we had a high hit factor. Keita, which of our boys just set the high hit factor? Was it Dang?
That was Andy Dang. Yeah, he just got his first GM classifier and hundoed it.
So this is another shooter. So Keita and I, it's so random.
I
Like,
sent him to you.
right, like we'll be hanging out and a name will come up and like, oh yeah, I know him, here's his problem, and she'll say not anymore, and then she'll say, oh, I've got this guy, oh, I can tell you he's over trying for sure he's over trying, because that's what he does. And so when we adopt them together, that's the magic, because there's literally nothing missing. Like, you're getting everything. And if you come to this 2-day class, please do not argue with us. If you don't agree with us, that's fine. If you're skeptical, that's cool too. But please don't waste the class's time arguing with us. We know this stuff works. If you're an outlier, we'll know it. You won't need to tell us you're an outlier, because we'll know, right? That's how smart we are. And Keita, wouldn't you agree that since we've been working together, we've both become smarter?
Oh yeah, I've learned a lot from you.
And I've learned, well, I kind of stay out of your classes, but what I really have been impressed with was your openness to new ideas. Like, when you really get into mental management and learn my strict terms, remember how hard we fought about that?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then when you finally saw it, it was like, oh, this is why.
Well, you have to understand, I have more of a scientific perspective. So it's not that I'm fighting it. I just don't accept things immediately without challenging them.
Ah, interesting.
So
Okay.
if you felt like you were being challenged, it wasn't that I didn't believe you. It's that I needed to understand everything you were saying.
See, that is so fascinating to me, because what is contained in my briefcase is how to win Olympic gold medals.
Right.
And it ain't just one, it's dozens. Because when Lanny Basham was not inventing mental management, but discovering it, he didn't just do it himself and say, here's what I did. He talked to dozens of gold medalists.
That's pretty much what I did with my book as well.
Right. Dozens and dozens. And oh, one thing that I want to, so everybody here has been to the range numerous times. Kita, what happens to somebody who knows how to run when you put a gun in their hand? Like, what's going on?
Forget.
Right. Is it because they're overly worried about the 180 or a safety, or what's going on there?
It depends on their skill level, but yeah. Especially in the beginning, they're worried about safety things.
Mhm. Right. Okay. Kita, do you have anything to say about your private lessons or the 2-day experience?
Well, I will mention, since we talked about Andy Dang during his private lesson, and this wouldn't be for everyone. Like, I'm just going to do whatever you need to do during the private lesson. But for example, what I did with Andy was I set up a classifier and then I had him shoot it a whole bunch of different ways. So I had him shoot it, on the move versus standing still. I had him shoot it from, 30 yards away, 35 yards away. I added partials where there weren't any, and then I took them all away. Just making him do different things, engaging it in different orders. So then after he had done all these different things in different ways, he went back to shoot it the way it's meant to be shot and got a GM score in practice.
Mm.
And another guy I just worked with, Sean Pham, we focused more on vision. So for him, he was struggling with acquiring the dot efficiently and transitions without over transitioning or under transitioning, not dragging shots, things like that. And kind of using the whole A zone, especially on something like a plate rack. So on the plate rack, I actually forced him to keep the gun moving without stopping it until he was able to see, like, his eyes caught up to what I was trying to get him to do. That's not something I recommend you do in a match. This was just to help him see what he needed to see in practice.
Sure.
So he was starting to pick up the next plate within the optic window. So that's one of the only times in shooting it's okay to keep your eye on the dot and follow it versus jumping your eye to the next target on a transition.
Yeah, and so it's very interesting. I just saw a very famous instructor today posting a revolutionary concept of missing during practice being okay. And I'm like, we've been doing that for a long time.
Yeah.
Because shooters do a very funny thing. They want to go fast at the match, and then they think it's a technical problem. And so they slow down in training. And they don't like it one bit. And oh, Gaz, my new thing is something that you are able to do that very few people are. It is a skill I can teach people. So let's look at this philosophy and see if we like it. Shoot alphas without slowing down. What do we think of that?
That is the pinnacle of where you want to work towards.
And I don't think you learned it on that day we spent together, but you are better at that than just about anybody I've ever seen.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a concept that we started to understand that day, but through training after that, got to solidify it more. So yeah.
Yeah, and Gaz, would you say in South Africa, do people think that fast shooting is going to be sloppy and that accuracy has to be slow? Like, is that still something that we're espousing?
Yeah, I think it's something that does come up quite often. And I think it's a case of guys learning or not taking the opportunity to learn what they can get away with in training, in a training environment, and understanding what they can get away with in match environments.
Right. Were you as scared as I was when Jay Beal said he was exploring seeing less?
When he said that at the time, I didn't quite understand what he was saying. But after you and I worked together, that's when it clicked for both of us. This is what he was saying.
And I just had Kita Deshawn. Remember when you said he was Sermon? So
Oh, over confirming, yeah.
So this is what Deshaun was doing. He was going, oh, that's beautiful. Oh, yeah, that's beautiful. Right? What I
Mhm.
taught him how to do was plop, plop, watch it. Oh, what a relief it is, right? Watch it come back down. Be ready for it to come back down. She doesn't need to set up shop. She's good, right? And if I can see it lift, track it, and come back down, it's so fast. And on that same day, Gaz, you're gonna love this. I took a guy, we were at 8-9 yards. His split went from 131 to 39 when he learned to watch the dot lift and return.
Yep.
Right. And the hits were better. Deshaun's hits were better.
Yeah.
Lift and watching it return. Right. And Keita, I'm going to have you talk more about seeing less here very shortly. But Gaz, this is what I want to ask you, and I've completely forgotten it. I think Keita's concussions might be contagious. Where was I? Oh, Gaz. When all you care about is watching it lift and return, what else can you think about?
You don't need to think about anything else.
What else can you think about? Nothing.
Yeah.
When you're properly invested in watching it lift and return, you can't. If you can think about anything else, you're not properly invested. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And when do we shoot our best, guys? When we're thinking about
As little as possible. Nothing.
Right. So lift and return is thinking about nothing. And Keita, this reminds me of one of my favorite arguments that you and I have had.
I knew you were going to say that.
Oh, yes. Oh, because I won that one decisively. Let the record show a man decisively won an argument against a woman. Like I'm the
And
first.
the woman said he was right.
Oh, that happened too. That's a twofer. That's a twofer. So I was doing mental management and we were talking about choosing one thing to think about because thinking about nothing is not duplicable. And Keita is scurrying around the kitchen like one of the Golden Girls. And she said, I've had every single one of my I can't do her voice. Thing. She said, every single one of my world shooters can think about nothing on demand. And I said, nope, not possible. It is not possible. She goes, yes, every single time they can go out and think about nothing. No, ma'am, they cannot. That is not possible 100% of the time. And she goes, yeah, all they do is think about one. And she stopped. That was the moment that the man won the argument. All right. So Keita, would you please talk briefly about seeing less and shooting better?
Yeah, I mean, there's an acceptability at various distances. You can get away with more on closer, easier targets and get away with less on farther, more challenging targets. And knowing the difference is kind of like if you set up accelerator, you know, it's a close, medium, and far target. If you're doing it properly, it should sound like da 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 da. If it sounds like bop 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 bop, you're seeing too much on some targets and maybe not enough on others.
And we might disagree on this politely and quickly, but if a stage has that kind of thing in it, do you encourage them to make that decision ahead of time or let it play out behind the gun?
I tell them to do what their sites tell them to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like me, for example, I know a close one's going to be spicy. I'm not going to make it spicy. I know the middle one's going to be a little bit more patient, but I'm still doing it according to lift and return. Meaning the spiciness is known, but it's not calculated for me personally.
Right? I can't help but hear a cadence in my head of what I know it will sound like if things happen properly. But I also know when I get there, I have to let the sites do what the sites need to do.
That's exactly right.
So even though the cadence is in my head, I know that it's dictated by the sites, not by how I think it should sound.
Yep, that's right. And I've been to Brazil 2 times in a row now and come back with a suitcase full of dirty Brazilian drug money by teaching them that sight is more important than cadence. And yes, cadence is a thing. And just like she said, if you do it correctly, it will produce a recognizable sound. However, if we go out and try to make that noise, all we're going to do is make that noise. And we see this all the time when people follow open shooters, right? Let's say I'm shooting standard and I listen to an open shooter and I go try to make that noise. I can make that noise. I can absolutely do it, but it's not going to be good hits. And I want to say two things that are incredibly controversial right now. And if you don't agree with me in South Africa, I want you to find me on the range and let's argue about it. The two biggest problems in the sport. Number one, the conscious control of speed in competition is always going to be an error. And if you're controlling your speed up or down, it's going to be an error every single time, without exception. Okay. The second biggest problem in practical shooting is negative imprints during training. And if you are stuck in the middle of the pack, you are doing both of those things. And I can free you from them very, very, very quickly. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next item on the schedule. Shanae, what is the next item? Oh, look at the puppy. Come here, come here, come here, come here, come here. Check this out. Oh, look at this. Hello, hello, hello. I'm very tiny. I must urinate. Hello, take the dog.
That's like a little rat.
Thank you.
Hey guys, I'm gonna peace out.
All right, Keita, thank you so much for joining us. We all hope you feel better.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for
so
joining,
much.
Peter. Appreciate it.
All right, Shanae, what is the next item on the agenda, on the schedule?
So we've got the 3-day class, of which 2 of those days Kita will join.
Okay.
From the 2nd of May, we will do mental management.
Okay.
And then the 3rd and the 4th, the 2 of you will be on the range doing the amazing class that you just spoke about.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
So
And you've seen the travel
Mhm.
schedule. Is she now there for, are we now there for most of the same time?
she's leaving slightly earlier than you are.
Okay. So
So-
we haven't discussed this with her because she's not feeling well right now. Is it safe to assume she'll be available even on days she's not scheduled to be teaching a class or doing a private? I think she'll be around.
She'll be around, yes. So she kind of hinted towards that she will give her inputs when she's on the range, even when she's having her lunch break with her privates. She can pop in at your side and see what's happening, and if she's got inputs to give, then she will do that.
Right. And having
But-
been on the range with her, I will tell you with 100% certainty, if she's not busy, she will be on the range offering input. I mean, that's just who she is and what she does. Right. And we can't commit her to specific events that are not on her schedule, but we're pretty sure she'll be around and we're pretty sure she'll be involved.
But currently on both of your guys' schedule is the 3rd and the 4th of May, where you will do your joint class over the weekend. Then we've got the 5th of May, which is a recuperation day.
Okay.
Good word. Then the 6th, you are doing shooting on the move.
Yes, I love that one.
Yes.
Can I talk about
And
that?
but at the same time, Kita will be on the range as well doing her private class.
Okay.
So yes, now you can talk about that.
Okay. So shoot it on the move. I'm not going to tell you when to do it because everybody wants to know, do I post up or do I keep moving? Well, I don't know, but wouldn't it be nice to have that option? Right? Gaz, can we universally declare when you should shoot on the move and when you can't or shouldn't?
I think we've tried to define it before, but I don't think we've ever made a definition out of that.
But
But having a tool available is incredibly valuable.
yeah, right. I mean, we could argue all day long. Every shooter's different, right? Like if I have really good splits and transitions, I might want to post up and take advantage of that. If I'm really good at shooting while moving, I might want to take advantage of that. But and let's talk about 2 common mistakes. But yes, we're going to give you the tools. We're going to show you how to practice it. Here are some common mistakes, and this is what we're going to free you from. The most common mistake shooting while moving is choosing a body speed that disrespects your sight picture. That is the most common problem, right? A guy says, I want to be moving here, and they decide to move really quickly. Well, if your sights get loose, you need to calm your caboose, right? You need to settle that down a little bit because your dot will tell you, right? The other mistake people make is, let's say I have a, what would that be? Let's say I have a 4 meter section of movement where I can see the target. Okay. If you start shooting at 12 meters, that is an error, right? You're going to want to get a little burst of speed on that typically, so that you're not having to shoot while moving for that entire distance. Because if you do, that's going to be worse, right? So it's kind of it's more of an in and out thing than it is all the time thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but yes, and I have discovered 3 things about shooting while moving that make it easy and make it magical, and I would love to show them to you. On what date, Shanae?
The getting it 6th of May.
Excellent. What's next?
So the 7th of May, we've got the amazing match mode training day.
Mm,
Yes,
wait, we have stages and everything?
we will. Of course we will.
How many
I will
stages?
make it happen.
And,
I
and
can't. I
and-
will make it happen.
is Kita working that day, or is she available?
No, she's working that day on her side, so we will see how much of the time we can have her available on our
Yeah,
side.
we'll just see what happens, because obviously her schedule is more important. Now, let's talk about this for just a second. Yes, there are things in stage planning that are important, for sure. But if you've been shooting actively for more than 2 years, you know what they are. That means if you've been shooting for more than 2 years and you can't decide what to do on a stage, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. And I'll prove it to you. We're all shooters. Sasha, are you still lurking in the background? Can you just lurk in between those two, so you can lurk where we can see your beautiful face and your shiny personality?
Got my foot stuck.
Okay.
Hi.
Oh, look at the happy family. So, okay, so raise your hand if you do pretty well with an A+ execution of a B- plan. Okay, now raise your hand if you screw the pooch with a C- execution of an A+ plan. Oh, that means do
I don't have enough hands.
that means do bad. Yeah. So can we agree? Stage plan does not matter unless you're doing something dumb, right? Now,
Yep.
Having said that, and I think if you're in the sport more than 2 years, you're not doing something dumb. Okay. Joey Sauerland doesn't even do a pre-walk anymore. Joey Sauerland goes to nationals and sees the stage for the first time when the RO presents it. And he does that on purpose because he wants to pick something dumb. I see you, Sasha. You can't hide. And that's just true in general, right? That's what Steve said. Now, he wants something dumb that he can remember. Okay. Does anybody have any different advice than pick? I mean, you may not like the characterization of dumb. Pick something you can remember. Execute.
I've got a
Sorry.
comment on that.
Go ahead.
I've got a comment on that.
Please do.
So I believe that whatever your skill level is, that is what your conscious mind will see that you are able to do.
Ooh.
And that is the stage plan that will be the first thing that comes up to you. And then trying to do somebody else's stage plan will be inherently fighting whatever your subconscious skill level and stage plan initial thought process is.
Holy moly.
That's
6
my
years
opinion.
of vacationing with Steve has made you a genius. That's amazing, Sinead. Nicely done. Yes, your current
That was
level of
well done.
skill will dictate the most obvious plan. That's brilliant. I wish Kita could have heard that. That was beautiful. Beautiful. That was so good. Nice.
Parky, yes, you've got something to say.
Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah. So I wanted to say, with regards to that, with I learned one thing through your mental management course, as well as the match day training, I think it was, that the plan you do choose is to stick with it. If you change your plan at last minute, yeah, you're gonna look for trouble.
And what's really fascinating is a shooter at your level will tell a newer shooter, don't ever change your plan. And then you'll get to a stage and you'll change your plan.
Yeah.
Gaz, have you ever had a good result from changing your plan at the last minute? It's okay.
I have.
Yeah, go.
What was the change you made?
So it was basically a pure timer based bobbers at our Africa area level 4. My timing would have worked out maybe 2 seconds slower. And on the line, I saw 2 people before me shoot the stage. And then I was like, okay, that's a better plan. I'm just going to stick with it and do it.
So the one exception I was going to make is activator sequences, right? If we like say you're way down in the squad, what's your guys' term for way down in the order? Down in the detail? I think you guys call them details.
Squad.
Squad. Okay. So like if you're near the end and you've been watching this activator sequence, you know, for 6 or 7 shooters, you might find an activator sequence that's better, and that's totally cool, right? But on that subject, let's say you do find a brilliant activator sequence and you're going to pick up like a second popper, or I call that homework, right? You're going to activate and you add some homework to your stuff. It is so common to miss the activator in your zeal to do your homework. It's like you missed the school bus in your zeal to do homework, right? If you're going to do something fancy, you better hit those targets, right?
You need to know that you can do the homework and hit the popper. And that becomes the thing that where your self-image then determines whether that new plan will work or fail, is whether you've got yourself confident or self-image confidence to know that you can hit those things. If you've got any shadow of a doubt that you can't, something there is going to go astray.
Did you say a shadow of a 2?
A shadow of a doubt.
So, this is a good time to tell everybody. Go ahead.
Sorry, didn't you change your stage
Yeah.
plan recently on one of your stages?
Yes.
And which way did it go?
It went good. It was at PCC Nationals.
Okay.
Of course. Now, I will say the better the shooter and the more minor the change, the more I'm on board. Right. But if you're a newer shooter, so the biggest mistake people make in stage planning is there's so many big mistakes. Let's say you have 4 minutes. Are you going to spend 3.5 minutes deciding? That's because they think the decision is more important than the preparation. That's what they think. And here again, if you're having trouble deciding, congratulations, it doesn't matter. Right? Like if Shanae says, "Hey Steve, do you want steak or ribs?" And I can't decide, it doesn't matter. But if she says sushi or chili and I go, "Oh, chili," then it matters. If it matters, you'll know right away. Okay. All right. What is the next item on the agenda? Besides unmuting your microphone.
Yes, and that I just did it.
Describing the earthquake.
Okay, so we did match mode training. And then we've got another recreational relaxation day where we will probably be escorting Kita to her plane, a departing flight, because that's when she's scheduled to leave. And then we've got our second weekend class.
Okay, outstanding. Are we going to mention the other possibility, or have there been developments there? The thing that
One or two inquiries, not enough to we can mention the fact that no.
Are we saying the thing, or are we not saying the thing?
We're not saying the thing. They know that it's available. If they want it, they can let me know and we can make time. But at this stage, time is becoming an issue. So, oh no, because we've got the option of you staying longer. I'm sorry. Yes, we can do.
I am going to commit a major party foul. If you live in Durban and you want to do a class with Steve and Kita, let Shanae know immediately. Oh, you guys didn't hear that, did you? Durban, right?
Durban, yes. If you
Durban.
guys want to commit and pay
Yes.
and commit really hard,
Yes.
then we will look at bringing the whole party down to you.
Yes.
But we need serious commitment, like ring on the finger stuff.
If you are a Durban cowboy or you drive a Chevy Suburban, okay, and you want the best shooting class in the world, give Shanae the money and trust me and Kita Busse with a combined 40 years. So between the two of us, we have 6 books and 40 years of experience. Right? I invented the modern dry fire method. I invented speed mode, accuracy mode, match mode. If you hear anybody talking about it, they got it from me. She invented the modern movement. If somebody's calling themselves a movement coach, they have every right to do that. And if they're selling a class that talks about movement, that is what she invented, because that word, you guys weren't around. In the late 90s, that word was not used. The only word we used was entries and exits, and we were grandmasters, and we just started thinking about entries and exit. Like here we are, we're grandmasters. Okay, so we invented this stuff. Anybody else saying these things, and they have every right to do that, right? There's no copyrights or anything like. But what I'm saying is, you could come to the Parrot. You could. I'm sorry. You could go to the Parrot, or you could go to what the Parrot is copying. It's just that simple. And the difference is, we can answer the question. If you go to a Parrot, they'll say, oh, you need to do these things. They might not be able to answer the question. We asked.
You can go to Buddha.
Yeah, right. Hey, I'm not Buddha anymore. I'm a skinnier prophet.
I didn't mean it like that. I mean, it's like the Zen Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off type thing.
Whoa, that's a class I'd go to. Okay, so what is next on the agenda? And then we're going to talk to all of you, I promise. But we got to do the agenda.
The agenda is then done. Then we've got the option with your flexible exit flights as to whoever has the most interest and commitment in extra classes. And we've also we extended the offer to the Steel Challenge guys.
Oh, great.
To see if they want to have a class set up as well. We've had some interest. We could possibly look at doing a Steel Challenge only day, which you would love, because you are now an aspiring Steel Challenge Grandmaster thing.
I don't aspire to do anything, Shanae. I decide.
I'm sorry.
So,
you are becoming a Steel Challenge Grandmaster.
I have had a physical setback for sure. I tried to dry fire with my swollen foot. So when you get a blood clot, anything below the clot swells. So my right foot was at 300% of my left foot. And that's not exaggeration, 300%. And so trying to dry fire, number one, it's difficult to do. Number two, it just makes the foot worse. And I did not know that swelling was an injury. I thought swelling was a temporary condition that would be relieved as soon as blood flow is restored. I did not know it was an actual injury. Right?
You can get Sasha to take care of you.
Sasha, do you know medical things?
Not really.
I think you're more of an administrator, aren't you, than an actual medical professional? Or am I wrong?
I think so.
I'm the group mother.
Oh, yes, of course. Very good. Yeah, so like when this thing happened, Kita so my right foot was there, and I was stuck at her place because I can't drive. Oh, and you know the big orthopedic boot? Check this thing out. Look at that. Now,
so
what do you think is going to happen if I go for the brake and also touch the accelerator? What do you think is going to happen?
Whiplash.
Screenshot.
It's really bad. So the first time I drove in the boot, I did not realize that I was catching the accelerator. And so here I am stopped at a robot. And the harder I hit the brakes, the more the truck lurches forward, right? And like, oh dear God, what is happening here? You know, but it's getting better every single day. I'm taking care of it. I have expert medical care. And on the subject of losing weight, I want to tell everybody that my pants literally went from XL to M and skipped L altogether. So
Oh yeah.
on the subject of mental management, if there is a lifestyle change that you know you need to make and you're having a hard time, diet and fitness are the easiest ones. I'm not going to demonize people for smoking because people can do what they want to, right? I don't think smoking is a mental weakness. I think it is a choice that we make. And I thought smoking was a 20-year problem. I did not know smoking was a 20-day problem. Okay. If I could continue to smoke 5 cigarettes a day and not risk my life, I would do it gladly because I love to smoke. But I like to live more than I like to smoke. And I thought of it as a long-term lung problem. I did not know it was a short-term clot problem, right? So I'm not gonna demonize smoking one bit because I love to do it and I wish I could. However, if there's a lifestyle change that you need or want to make, I can literally, you can do it in one day. One day. People says, how's the quitting smoking going? I say, I don't know. I did it 10 days ago. I don't do it every day. I did it 10 days ago. It's done. Even Lanny Basham said, I was talking to Lanny. Oh, check this out. Gaz, I got Keita Busse's daughter a job with Lanny Basham. Like that happened.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Right? Like what are the odds of Keita Busse's daughter working for Lanny Basham? Because he called me. He was complaining about podcasts. He's like, oh, I tell you, we do a podcast for 2 hours and it takes us 3 days to put it out. I sure wish I knew some sharp high school kid that could help me out. And Keita's like, oh, dear God, I have one of those. Right? And when she interviewed with Lanny, the first thing Lanny, I should have seen this coming, but I didn't. He didn't interview her. He taught her how to interview people. Like, how cool is that? Right?
That is cool.
And then shortly after Lanny Basham hired Pixie Busse, Keita Busse sent Lanny Basham a copy of her book, which she wrote because she read my book, after he hired her daughter to work for him. Like this is happening in the same kitchen. And meanwhile, Anderson's over there just doing the dishes like it's no big deal, right? It's crazy. So, all right. Today, am I available for private lessons if anybody wants that?
Yes.
Okay. So if you have, there's 2 environments I can help you. Everybody either has more time than money or more money than time. And we all know which category we are in. Okay. I can help both shooters. So if you have more time than money, you might be able to afford the lesson. I can help you. And if you have more money than time, I can help you there because I know how to work in those environments. But if you are not willing to do exactly what I tell you to do, please don't come to the lesson. Like if you're going to come to the lesson, I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. Okay. Gaz, I am seeing a phenomenon. I think it's a phenomena. Okay.
Phenomena.
Over here, it kind of sounds like a phenomena. Almost sounds like a song, like Baby Shark, phenomena. What I'm seeing over here, and I'm curious if you see it over there. People would rather sit behind the computer or the device and read about shooting and watch podcasts and listen to 6 different instructors talk about 6 different things, right? And one of them is a client. And this guy's texting me every day. Should I do this? Should I do that? So what you should do is strap your rig on and dry fire. I know, but do I do this or I do that? Okay, so I finally told him, how much time are you spending on the device researching shooting? And he lied to me. He's spending 45 minutes a day, minimum. That's what I got him to admit to. It's closer to 2 hours. If you include toilet time, that's 2 hours, okay? So he needs to dry fire 2 hours before he reads another article, right? That's what he needs to do. Because if he dry fires instead of sitting on the toilet reading, right? Because if you have a charger in your bathroom, it's over. But if you're going to spend 2 hours reading about shooting, you should spend that time dry firing instead. Sasha's like a child who's never been on TV before. I've looked pretty. I feel pretty. Oh, Sasha, can we do American Trivia Night? Because I will ace that thing.
I'll look for
We'll
us if
s-
we can find a trivia night. There's quite a bit happening in our area, so maybe one day after the range,
And
I'll have a look at it.
if you can't find trivia, find karaoke, because I can do things you can't even imagine with a karaoke microphone.
Henny and Steve at karaoke. That will be awesome.
Wait, who's the other one?
Henny
Henny does karaoke?
can sing like a monster.
Can he do giddy up, bapa, mow, mow? Is Henny handy?
Have you heard his bass?
Is he handy?
Yes.
Come here, Henny.
Yes.
Giddy up,
Come here, Henny.
bapa, mow, mow, giddy up, bapa, mow. Hi. Come on, Henny.
You have to.
He's
Slow. Oh, yeah.
yeah. Nicely done. All right. So now what I'd like to do is I would like to talk to each of you about your accomplishments and whether, yeah, I don't want to sound like a sales pitch. I want Faki to tell me how his training with me helped him reach a goal. That's what I want to hear about.
Okay, so first of all, when I did your course, it was like in perfect timing to my mental state at that moment. It just fell in place. So at that time and moment when I did your mental management as well as the 2-day shooting course, it helped me because I was in a state of where I was like, no, I don't know if it was demotivated or was it, you used another word that was very important. I forgot about it.
Burnout.
Yes, I was in burnout mode and I just didn't want to train. I didn't want to be in the gym. I didn't want to, like, I just didn't want to do anything. And I did your mental management course and I followed the process to the T. The process, and I shot my 100% match. I didn't shoot the 99%, I shot my 100% match. The first match we shot, I had gun issues
I remember that.
and I sorted that out. And at the second match, like we did say, I wrote it in my journal every day that I'm going to be Africa champion.
Yes.
And I came out second. I'm pretty happy with that. I came
Yeah.
out second. I did great. And then I followed the mental process right through, taking breaks when you needed to. Well, constructive breaks. And so far, it's been amazing.
Right.
Not mental breaks. I'm talking about physical breaks because my
Oh,
body was
yes.
my
Yes.
body was done.
Yes.
Yeah. So I took constructive body fatigue breaks, and I'm at the level of shooting at the moment, which I think is like I'm the best I've been in my entire career, and I'm ready for what's coming next. Yeah, I made the South African team in PCC Iron Sights as well.
Wonderful. That's so great.
Yeah.
Now, so one thing that I'd like to mention real quick is, do you guys have C-class shooters? Is that a thing that you have?
Yeah.
Yes.
So a C-class shooter is living a C-class lifestyle.
100%.
And the thing that happens over here is they desire an A-class rating with a C-class lifestyle. Right. And I can tell you from personal experience, Shanae, how long have I been trying to lose weight?
6 years.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Because I remember the first year I was there, you told me I looked good in my jeans, and then you never told me again. So she'd had a couple. She'd had a couple of drinks, and she goes, "Oh, that's a nice pant." Remember that? And then remember, you also counseled me through 6 years of marriage problems, right?
I did indeed.
Remember, I told you I want to be the hot boyfriend, and Shanae looked at me and she goes, "But you're not. You're not the hot boyfriend. I'm so sorry to tell you that, but you're just not." Okay. And when I decided to get addicted to the process of being a skinny man. It happened in 45 days. I spent 6 years thinking about how many beers can I drink and see 199 on the scale. So the shooting parrot axiom would be, how little can I dry fire? That would be the old Shawbatha method. How little can I practice and win matches? And that'll get you to a place. You know, hell, Shanae, even last year, we were like, well, because you and I had it, because we had our charts on the wall, right?
Yeah.
And every day at the end of class, we would say, one road beer is not going to hurt us, right?
No, never.
And then that turns into 2, and then you're like, oh, these are lower calorie beers. That means I can have 7 of them, right? We were trying to get to a number with a bare minimum level of participation.
We were wanting the result without doing the dry fire.
Right. We were sitting there reading about weight loss. We were on our phones. Oh, this beer has less calories. It never occurred to us to quit drinking beer. Like, that's just crazy. It's just crazy, you know? But this comes back to mental management. Oh. Okay, check this out. Check this out. Something happened to me last night. Okay. I wrote a directive affirmation for weight loss. I weigh less than 190 pounds. I am under 190. Under 190, I am more attractive. I make more videos and more money, and I get what I want. And last night, so I use this directive affirmation to live by rules, hard rules, you know, hard rules. No, not hard. What word am I looking for? Strict rules, right? Like my roommate, I go up at 3 o'clock. He's like, hey man, you want some nachos? No. Oh, come on. One nacho won't kill you. No, I don't. I want to be skinny more than I want one nacho. And anybody who knows me knows there ain't one nacho. Like, it's all the nachos, right? It's all of them. There ain't one. But I like to live by rules. You know, if somebody says, make yourself at home, you know, I make myself at home. If there's a rule, I need to know about it. Like if you want the shoes off, or if you want, I don't know, the dishwasher loaded or not loaded, just tell me that. Because I need rules and I need structure. So I gave myself rules and structure. I eat one small meal after 5 p.m. and I'm done. And I realized this morning, I have become this person. Like, I designed a skinnier, more attractive Steve Anderson who's going to live longer. And I am making more money. I'm making so many videos. People are like, well, you please stop making videos. That's all I do is make videos. Well, when I look like a toad, I'm not making videos. Nobody wants to see Steve the Toad, right? Nobody wants to see Jabba the Butt. Nobody wants that, right? But I have become this person. The point I'm trying to make is, if you want to be a national champion, you can't be a national champion, but you can become a national champion. If you identify a national championship lifestyle, it is going to cut down. It's going to cut into your life a little bit, right? Gaz, it cuts into your life, doesn't it?
Yep. Yes,
Right?
it does.
Lanny
Yes,
says,
Focky?
huh?
No, Focky's got his hand as well, sorry.
I
Yeah,
thought
no,
you said somebody was farting. Is there a farting problem? Sasha, it
Focky.
would be on you. The rest of us don't care, right? It's fine. Right, Faki, go ahead. Continue, Faki.
yeah. So I wanted to add something to that. Is that when I did your mental management course, it wasn't only to shooting; it was to my lifestyle. And coming back from that, my journal also, I wrote in it that I'm gonna be a better me, and I am a better me as well. And I've been in the gym for the last 6 months. Back in the gym. I stopped training for like 3 years. I'm back 6 months.
That's great.
Yeah, it's been your mental management course. Well, the entire course on a whole really helped me become a better person,
That's
if I may say.
amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to touch the third rail here, but aren't you a fairly religious person? Like, don't you have,
Yes.
and don't you have a
Yeah.
praise? Okay, so one thing that I have learned I have been raised around religion my entire life, and I always thought these are the rules you follow so you don't go to hell, right? So I was doing the bare minimum. Okay. Now I am living a life that is 99% godly according to Christianity. Okay. And the blessings that I am getting from God are amazing. If I had known when I was 25, like I was living a worldly life to get worldly blessings. Now I'm living a more godly life to get more godly blessings. It's really been amazing. And I'm not going to preach to anybody, but the difference, guys, isn't the difference in Steve Anderson pretty obvious? Like, isn't this a different guy than you've seen before? Right.
100%. Yeah.
And so one of the things I learned, I don't remember who told me this. I wasn't suicidal, but I didn't want to live for many, many years. Like I just didn't want to be here. Like just have me hit by a bus. Like I'm not going to kill myself, but I'll go skydiving and forget to put the parachute on. It'll probably be okay. But the difference now is I am addicted to life and I'm getting godly blessings for a godly life. It's amazing. And that includes money. Like my business is doing better than ever, right? Because killing yourself slowly is still killing yourself. It's the same thing. Okay, I can tell by your faces you want me to move on. So, Gaz, tell me how, if you can, working with you has helped you achieve a goal.
Working with you, originally, we went through the process of becoming for me to get that first national title win. And from there, it evolved into the mental management, which was a great help in terms of lifestyle adjustments, like you've described, like Faki described. But it basically allows me to remain consistent mentally, which allows me to continue training consistently. And it also allows me to perform consistently when it comes to matches.
Mm-hmm.
I think based on the training that we do, obviously while we're training, there's mental management involved, but the simplicity of what you bring to training makes improvements and gains happen a lot quicker and a lot more efficiently. And because of that, they become more permanent sooner, provided we continue working on those elements. So the simplicity makes a big difference.
You say working on areas or areas?
Areas.
Oh, thank goodness. Because we don't work on errors. Like that's dumb. Working on errors is dumb. It's just dumb. And that's another bit of old dogma that I really want to address here is over here. It is so common. I've got to focus on my mistakes to fix them. Well, every time you repeat a mistake, you become the mistake. Yes, you do have to diagnose the thing, right? You diagnose it and then you delete it and you replace the error with the solution. That's what you do. And learning to flip that switch, especially for people that are older than me. If anybody's older than 50, they've got a lot, and maybe it starts at my age, I don't know. But they want to focus on the problem. Like that was the biggest gift that I gave to my roommate. When I first moved in, he had this horrible flinch. And I'd watch him drive by and he goes, there's that flinch. There's that flinch. He would say it 100 times. And I'm like, could you maybe say something different? But I've got this flinch. Yes, you do. And that's fine. We can fix it. The first thing to do is start gripping the gun harder with the left hand. So instead of saying, I've got this horrible tension and flinch, say, I'm going to grip the gun harder with my support hand. And they hate it. Like the people that are doing it, they hate it until it works. And then, Shanae, I have noticed such a profound change in you. You are now addicted. Well, you're addicted to a lot of things, but positive imprints is one. And you are addicted to positive imprints and winning performances. And I love that change in you, right?
Even when somebody on the range is going, oh, I hate steel or I hate this or I don't like that, I will be the one mama on the squad that says, don't talk like that. I will not even hear it. You will, what do you need to do to hit the steel? But I don't want to hear you say you hate steel. And it's not just me saying that to people, it's the whole thing of making that part of how you operate. I love major matches. I do exceptionally well in major matches because I've learned to become a great competitor on those things.
Yeah.
It's really where I love to go do the thing.
And I know that your level of participation is dictated by broken slide stops, but is it fair to say that your level of participation is kind of up and down, or has it settled someplace?
I'm still more of an instructor at this stage with what I do as a full-time job than an active gaining, wanting stuff but participant. But when I do decide to show up, I show up big time.
Yeah.
That's still, and it's nice to know that you can do that.
Yeah.
And mental management is absolutely the only way that you can get there is to show up in big matches and say, I will medal this thing. It's just my level of participation dictated what medal, but I will medal this thing.
Yeah. And so one thing I would like to add is Faki talked about really desiring a result. And you have to be so careful with that. So Gaz, if I'm not mistaken, we got you your first national title by preparing you for a world shoot finish, right?
No, we didn't. It was
The
based.
second.
Sorry.
I just remember there was something you had to. I seem to recall there was a year where you had to be a national title to do something at the world shoot.
I think it was one of the selection matches that we had for that world shoot. Yes.
And then, meaning we set you up for the second accomplishment, which made the first one mandatory. Like it wasn't even optional.
Yeah.
Right. So when we're talking about a specific competition, there is no way to guarantee victory at a specific competition. And Faki, that might have been a slight mental opportunity for you, because if we don't believe that, and Sasha, this is what you're so good at, when you believe the trophy is yours, that activates your self-image. Okay. For other people, if they believe the trophy is theirs, it scares them. Does that make sense?
100%, yeah.
Right? Like, let's say I'm a top 3 guy and I covet that trophy, but in my heart, I'm like, I don't know, man. Then I'm going to over try or under try. And in that environment, if I find myself winning, I'm going to get even more scared. Right? Imagine you're a bowler and you've never bowled a 300. Do we guys all understand that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Closer I get to 300, the more scared I get, because that's not me. It's literally not me. When I used to shoot NRA Action Pistol, which is the Bianchi Cup, the plate rack event. Garrett, are you familiar with the plate rack event?
Yep.
So
Yep.
10, 15, 20, 25, shoot the plate rack twice. A perfect score is 48. I had never shot a 48 in practice, ever. So when I'm at the match, the closer I get, I'm always 46 or 47 every single time. And if I miss a plate at the 10-yard line, then I have no trouble at the 25. Like, I'm good. But if I'm clean to the 25, my hand starts shaking, because that's not me. I don't know how to do this. Are you wanting to say something, or just airing out your finger?
When you finish, I've got something to say.
I thought you might have done something naughty with your finger and you just let it air out a little bit so it doesn't smell so bad.
No, when you finished.
Okay. But here's my point. If you give yourself an accomplishment that scares you, you don't know how to do that. Okay. For example, our top American shooter thought he could beat Eric Gaffel, but in his heart, he was a little bit scared. And if you're scared, you're going to over try or under try. You cannot be scared. Faki, were you scared to win the whole thing, or did you believe it was yours?
I was a little scared, and
you were a little scared.
Yeah, and I can tell you, like, based on, I saw after the shoot, I always do my We have a word for it, but it's part of our mental management. I don't know what's it called. I just do it. I think it was like when you revise over your shoot, basically. And looking back into the shoot, I noticed that it was on the last day, the last few stages, I overtried because how do you say, I didn't follow I didn't trust my mental process 100%, and I did overtry, and it cost me 3 mics in 3 stages.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes.
Now, hang on a second. I know that I'm not really like the whole firearms thing. Like I may not be an expert, but I do have some idea. I'm gonna guess that you fired the gun without an acceptable sight picture. Is that what happened?
100%. Yeah, it
I am
was.
an
It was.
expert. Yeah, that's
It
great.
was
I know what I'm
Russian.
saying. This is the craziest thing, Shanae. When you work with new shooters, how often do they fire the gun without an acceptable sight picture?
On every exit.
No, I mean like, but don't you work with like new gun owners?
Yes.
Okay,
Oh no, never. They
never.
will make sure 100%. They'll stand there until their gun shakes, and still they'll keep watching that side to make sure that it's there.
Because they're smart. Now,
Yep.
those people will make a trigger error on a perfect sight picture. And then ironically, they want to aim even more than they were aiming and hit the trigger even harder. But isn't it fascinating, Gaz, that the better a shooter gets, the more likely they are to fire the gun without an acceptable sight picture?
Yep.
Like there's some type of magic that will make the bullet go where they want it to without the sights being there.
I know. And my favorite, one of my favorite things about Gaz, like Gaz is one of my favorite humans ever. When there's a mic on a target and he says we have one alpha and one still traveling, I love that so much.
So I want to just quickly track back to what you think you can do and expectations. I mean, Leon, how old are you now?
16.
16. And you are ranked in South Africa currently. What's your
Oh,
ranking? Fourth.
In
Fourth
production.
yes.
in production optics. So he's top
So-
5 at 16 years old.
Fantastic.
And he's blowing minds by the way he's shooting.
Fantastic, dude. So you're 16 years old? Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. You have roughly 9 years of your body being in peak physical condition.
Yeah.
Okay. Gaz, about 25 is when it starts to start slipping. 30 for sure.
I would say at 25, I probably felt stronger than I did when I was younger.
Okay.
It might vary person to person.
Yeah. So what I want to tell you is take care of your body. Joey Sauerland said something to me that I wasn't ready to hear. Joey Sauerland said, Steve, you take better care of your car than you're taking care of your body. Why are you doing that? And I was like, I don't know, Joe, I got to get a smoke. He goes, your check engine light is on. When are you going to address this? And he wasn't preachy, right? Because people that know me know I don't respond to being preached to. I don't like being nagged. But if you can get me to see the light myself, like I'm all over it. Like I didn't try to quit. I just quit. I didn't try to lose weight. I just did it, right? Because I only have, so I'm 52 years old, right? If I take better care of my body, I could be on the range for another 10 years pretty easily, right? Like I can do that. Let me rephrase that. I'm going to do that. Okay. But your future is so bright that Hunter's HD Gold does not make a pair of glasses that can dim it. Okay. Your future will literally fry the lenses off of any Hunter's HD Gold. You'll put them on and they'll just vaporize. They'll say, Brian Conley, what else you got? Right. And literally all you need to do, what is your primary gun right now?
KMR R2 Spectra.
Sorry,
Handgun.
what's your primary division?
Production optics at
Okay.
the moment.
Okay, good. Are you planning on being a dabbler? Like, are you going to move around?
Maybe after World Shoot,
Why?
thinking about it.
Why?
He's shooting PCC World Shoot as well.
Oh, okay. So you're not dabbling, you're competing in multiple platforms. That's totally different. Okay, perfect. Well,
And he's in contention for World Shoot on PCC and handgun in the actual general division, not juniors.
fantastic. Gaz, is his match mode rock solid and unshakable?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Then you spend 100% of your training increasing your limit of human function. Like, that's your job. That's how you're going to win. Okay. And when you see Kita has learned some things about vision that are a little counterintuitive. It's a thing that I've glimpsed. So when I started shooting Steel Challenge, she goes, there's this thing that I've discovered that is only necessary at the very, very top. And I don't think you're ready for it. And I said, I saw it last week. She goes, there's no way. I said, yeah, there's a way. Because I was dry firing Steel Challenge and I called shot one out of the corner of my eye as I was transitioning to the next plate. Okay. If you're not A grade, delete the last comment because you're not ready for it. Okay. But in Steel Challenge, rim fire, we got to shoot 5 plates in a second and a half, including the presentation. Right. So yes, it's still kind of center the dot, call the shot, but it's in stereo instead of mono. Right. And if you're not in A class, you are not ready. And if you've got mystery mics at matches, you are not ready. That is still center the dot, call the shot. But what I'm saying to you is, remember her list of do not disclose? Like, there's big names on that list. People that have asked her for help and said, oh, by the way, don't mention this. Okay. Don't tell anybody, because these people are also teaching classes and they don't want people to know that they're going to a B class female. Does that make sense? It's just a science.
Yes.
And I do want to address that very quickly. It used to make her uncomfortable, but now she's getting into her warrior princess on this. Anybody who thinks they can't learn from a B class female shooter, that's not what she is. Okay. There's 2 reasons she's not more accomplished. Number 1, she gets more value out of coaching, right? Number 2, what she mastered is quicker to master than the gun. And what I mean by that is non-shooting time is learnable instantly, like in 10 minutes. And you're done. Like, it doesn't take you 10,000 reps to learn this thing the way it does the things we do with the gun. That takes 10,000 reps.
Yes.
So to get a reliable 0.8 first shot on a 12-meter steel, you don't learn that in 10 minutes. That's 10,000 reps. What Kita can teach you about movement and vision, you can learn in 10 minutes. That is the value. And anybody that is looking at her shooting career, the other thing people don't know about her is she took a full diameter ricochet in the ankle at a major match that should have penetrated her skin. Like, she literally got shot. She didn't get fragged, she got shot. And it was a pretty severe injury that she will never truly recover from. Okay. These are the reasons why she semi-retired in B class. The other thing that happened was she shot a bunch of classifiers at a master level. Gaz, I don't know if you remember when they did the big production update in USPSA hit factors. You remember that massive update that happened? You may not be aware of it.
No, I don't think so.
So USPSA periodically does massive updates, meaning the different classifications have become out of whack. So they go through and they redo all the numbers. Well, she had a handful of masterclass scores right in the middle of one of those revamps. And she won't show anybody else, but she showed me the match before that happened. And it's GM, 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 master, Kita Busse, master, 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 master. And it's B class, and that's because the half of the sport she's better at than anybody else. Those dudes can shoot the gun better than she can, but while they're standing there shooting the gun, she's over there shooting the gun somewhere else. Okay, so I know there are people, because I used to be one of them. I didn't have any idea what she knew. And if anybody's wondering why I'm supporting her so enthusiastically, it's because she knows things that people don't know. And she's willing to teach you them. Like, she'll teach you these things. And then you can cut seconds off of your stages. Okay. Sasha, I don't know that I've ever had you in a class, because I think you're too cool for school. I think Gaz is afraid.
She attended something at I think it was last year or the year before.
I know you did.
We had partial Sashas, but never like a full time, dedicated all there.
Sasha, so you have not spent a lot of time in my tutelage. Does Gaz coach you, or does he's going to leave you alone?
No, he does.
He does coach you. What do you think the secret to your success is?
Definitely to keep my match mode consistent, to keep my mental strength during a major match, to kind of not sweat the small stuff at a major match, which relates to mental management. And what I found is to also switch on the match mode, so sort of forget everyday life.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? So that switch that happens between everyday life and at a match.
Yeah. Now, one point that I would like to add to that is you are saying things that you understand and that mean things to you. And one thing that I'm really keen on these days is, let's say Shanae, for example, she's got 4 children, including Henny. She's got a side job. And how many side hustles do you have, Shanae?
5.
5 side hustles. So if she's at the match and she's got a big work problem, and I say to her, flip off everyday life, she's going to flip me off, because she doesn't know what that means. Meaning, a term that works for you is not going to help her when she's panicking. Right? So what I try to encourage people to do, don't turn off a switch, turn on another one. And Sasha, I'm not saying that you're wrong or that's right. I'm just saying that if she's freaking out at stage 1 of the Will Shoot and she calls you and you say flip off the everyday life switch, she's going to be like, screw you and the gas you rode in on, right? Because that's not going to work. It's like if somebody says just do it, sure, they're not wrong. But if I'm panicking at a national steel match, you say just do it. Now, I'm smart enough to know what that means, right? Right. Yeah, we said no profanity. We didn't say no visual profanity. That's allowed. And Shanae is now my 2nd drunk podcast guest in 2 days. Where's my Gene Simmons shirt? I'll show you Gene Simmons. But when you're coaching other people, and Shanae, I'm sure you're very good at this, always tell them what to do and what to think about, as opposed to what not to do and what not to think about. Minnie Kane, did you ever go through a phase where you were told what not to do?
Yes.
And are you now in a phase where you're told what to do?
Yeah.
And isn't that better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's actually in a phase now where he's telling other people what to do.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, Shanae tells him where to go and he tells him what to do. And that's because, let's see, men of an adult age. So the best analogy of thinking about what not to do is for men. If you think about what not to do, it happens. Am I right? Look at Sasha. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And shooting's like that too. Because when you picture the thing that you can't do, or you're not supposed to do, or you don't want to do, you picture doing it. And then it happens. And then you're sort of, Sasha's not, but the man is oddly relieved because he knew it was going to happen. Yep, happened again. That's just what I do, right? But if we can go to it like missing the steal, hitting the no shoot, right? Every time we talk about those things, they literally happen again. And people think they can outsmart that. Like they literally think they can outsmart it. And they can't, right? If you're driving in bad weather, you guys will never drive in snow. But if you're driving in the snow and you think, don't crash, well, you're picturing what's that going to look like? What's it going to feel like? I remember I was pulling my car. I was pulling my Mustang on a trailer in really bad snow. And going off the road's one thing. Going off the road with a car on a trailer, like that's bad. Like that's shut down the road for 4 hours bad. And I caught myself thinking, like, don't go off the road. And then I immediately caught myself and I went, just keep her straight. And if it slips a little, doesn't matter. Just keep her straight, keep her straight, keep her straight. All right, Shanae, we're coming up on, holy moly, 2.5 hours. Holy moly. Okay, we're ready to wrap this thing up?
We've been talking.
Huh?
Yeah, we've been talking for a long time.
Yeah.
Can I say something before we wrap it up?
Baki, what?
Yeah, I
You
want to
can
say
indeed.
something before we wrap it up.
Please do.
So I know this is not advertising, it's the truth. If people are coming to your class and they're a little skeptical and they like don't know what to expect, what I've done based before your class was watch a lot of your videos. And there was a recent video you posted that I also watched, and it clicked to me what I did wrong at a big match, at our last selection match. I did it wrong because I didn't follow my mental process 100%. I was exhausted. I was a lot of things, and I was trying to push myself, and I didn't follow my mental process. And I shot 2 shots with one side picture, and the second shot was definitely not on the side picture, nor on the target.
Still traveling.
Yeah, it was still going. So and then you posted a video, but I think it was about a month ago, about shooting 2 shots in one side picture versus shooting 2 shots with both side pictures and getting a higher score with a higher hit factor, and your time wasn't much of a change. So if people are like skeptical or just don't know what to expect, watch these videos and you'll get a bit of an understanding of what you're going to expect and how much it will improve your shooting. And they still have a lot of time, so they can try the things you do say in your videos in their training until they get to your actual course.
Yeah, that's great. Gaz, what do you think your career average hit factor is? Just ballpark. You're a numbers guy.
6.
Okay, 6.
Yeah, I would say probably averaging 6 or 7 hit factor.
And you're
I
shooting,
said 6.
and you're shooting minor now, right?
Yes.
Okay. For everybody watching this, I want you to know a delta is 4 points down. Let's talk about a delta on an open target, which you haven't done in a long time, I would assume.
Not on a static open target, no.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So a delta on an open target, Gaz has an average of 0.6 of a second to shoot an alpha instead of a delta and improve his hit factor. That's his average. Okay. Gaz, is it ever? What is Sasha blowing across the room? Is she enjoying a little electronic refreshment? We see your smoke, Sasha. We see it. It smells lovely. So Gaz has an average of 0.6 of a second to correct or prevent a delta. That's an eternity for him.
And a delta.
Right. Now, so let's say somebody is averaging a 30 split and they just decide it needs to be a 20. Okay. They're risking 1/10 of a second. They're risking a 4-point penalty to save 1/10 of a second. That's dumb. Okay. Now, the other thing I have seen in South Africa is looking at the target. Okay. These shooters are not going to have an average 6. They're going to have an average closer to 4. So let's say it's a 4. Charlie's 2 points down. So 2 points divided by 4. They have 1/2 a second to prevent or correct a Charlie. Okay. The problem with that is a human being cannot see a Charlie in the target on the paper, decide to make it up and shoot an alpha in less than half a second.
Yeah.
So
No,
maybe
there's no time.
they don't have time for it.
Mm.
Right. So if you're looking at holes in targets, you don't have time for that. Okay. It's never going to work.
You
But
can't do it in half a second. You can't look and shoot, look, decide, and shoot again in half a second.
no, you just can't do it. Now, but let's say it's the second shot. Okay. Let's say the second shot was a Charlie. That means you had half a second. Your split could have been a 49. You could have added 49 to it and had a higher hit factor. So let's say your split was 20 and you got a Charlie. That split could have been a 68 and would have improved your hit factor. And I'm not telling people to slow down. That's so when people hear that, they, oh, I got to slow down. No, you don't. In fact, slowing down for splits makes it worse. If you slow down your split, now it goes up, down, shimmy, shimmy, settle. What I'm going to get you to see is lift and return. That is always the right speed for every shot on every target. Listen to my noise. It's very oddly satisfying. Okay. All right, let's wrap this up. Shanae, does everybody in South Africa know how to get a hold of you, or do you need to put some details out there?
No, they can all find me on Facebook. Most people knows how to find me. Knows
Is
a
your
person
number
that
on-
knows how to find me.
Is your number on that many bathroom walls that you don't need to give out any communication whatsoever?
I do not have to. No, I can just say Shanae and everybody in IPSC in South Africa. And if they don't know me, just ask somebody 3 years older than you are and you will find out.
In Durban, they can get a hold of you. Anybody.
Absolutely. Yes. The chairman of the Durban Shooting Association's got my number.
Wow. And this isn't from arrests and court documents. This is how they can find you. This is like real.
I'm not allowed to say profanity, so I will just stay mute.
Oh, Shanae, I love you so much. You're like my little sister. We're such a joy. Such a joy. All right. So I will say, if you're interested in doing something in South Africa and you cannot get a hold of Shanae, email steve@andersonshooting.com and I will forward that to Shanae and we'll get her done.
My email address is on your website as well.
On my website.
Yes, indeed.
I've got such a
And
crafty web mistress. What are you
Yes.
doing there? What's going on there?
under international inquiries, it says contact Shanae.
All right, contact Shanae. Thank you guys so much for your time. I'll end the recording, then we'll stay on for just a minute, and then you guys can go to bed. So let's do the catchy catchphrase. Until SA gets to SA, to write an essay about SA. Be like me, do what I do, say it with me. 1, 2, 3, get to work.
Get to work.
One more time. Until I get to SA, where you can write an essay about your time with SA, the essay. Be like me, do what I do, say it with me. 1, 2, 3, get to work.
Get to work.
Get to work.
Right. Oops.